Welcome to the MadTech podcast from ExchangeWire, bringing you the latest news and views from the world of ad tech, media, and marketing.
Hello and welcome to the MadTech podcast. I'm Aimee Newell Tarín, editor at ExchangeWire, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Ciaran O'Kane, the ExchangeWire founder and advisor. How are you, Ciaran?
I'm good, Aimee. How are you?
Good. I'm good. In Brazil, but the weather hasn't been too...
Are you in Brazil? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did.
I was just saying your hair looks great, hey. For a man who doesn't have much hair, it's always good to see people who've got great hair. John, you've got great hair as well.
Thank you very much. Still holding on to it.
I need to get myself to Turkey and do some plant or some plugs in the hair there. I just get a wee bit back. We'll talk about that again in another podcast.
Next holiday plans. And we're also here with John Still, our head of content. How are you, John?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. I had a nice meetup with some ad tech music fans last night. So a shout to all of them. What lovely people, and some great chat and some good tunes. So yeah, I'm feeling good this morning.
Oh, sounds lovely. A nice evening. So this episode will be discussing the BBC's partnership with YouTube, e-commerce, looking specifically at Amazon and Temu, and then Google, no surprise there, focusing on lawsuits filed by 5 major publishers, plus Google's decision to appeal the verdict in its search antitrust case. So first, focusing on the big partnership between the BBC and YouTube. On Wednesday, the pair announced a landmark deal which will see the corporation make content that's tailor-made for the YouTube streaming service, including entertainment, documentaries, children's channels, news and sport, starting next month with the Winter Olympics. The content may also be made available on BBC's iPlayer and Sounds platforms, and those watching outside of the UK will have to watch ads. So, Ciaran, beyond what's said by the BBC in its announcement, what else can we understand from the partnership?
Well, I mean, look, the inevitability of YouTube is that it is a platform that everybody is using in some shape or form, whether it's on TV, whether it's on your mobile. And, you know, the BBC is just making a smart move to follow the eyeballs. And there's been a lot of kind of like, I wouldn't call them angry posts, but like, why is the BBC doing this? And they should be focusing on bringing people to the BBC, not on YouTube. But like, I think what people don't understand about YouTube is, and still don't understand about YouTube is, it's effectively an ecosystem, right? It's a distribution channel, right? That people are using it in different ways. And I see all these sort of conversations around, is YouTube TV, or is it this, or is it that? And who gives a shit, man? People are consuming, you know, content in so many different ways now that the lines between TV and CTV and online video are blurring all the time. So I think it's a smart move by the BBC. I think they'll make a lot of money from the ad revenue globally, and obviously they're making content for people that they want to reach in the UK as well, right? Because that's how people are consuming content. I mean, look, Channel 4 and Sky have done this for many years. So we're seeing more and more premium publishers or premium content producers getting on YouTube. And that's just the way it is. You know, I know that people are angry. I wouldn't call it angry, but there's a certain sort of subsection of the TV world or TV ad tech space that kind of goes mental about YouTube. But, you know, it's dross, it's garbage, it's, you know, it's this and it's that. Yeah, of course, 90% of the content on YouTube is garbage. There's no doubt about it, right? It's just like long tail crap and there's more AI slop. But there is a lot of quality content in that. And the BBC is just another quality publisher, broadcaster getting on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a wise move from them. YouTube is a huge ecosystem, like you said. John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like, it's a changing of the sands. Like, it's just seeing how important different distribution channels have become to premium publishers and premium outlets. It's like, you know, it's a great move for them, and it's important because it's where their audience is. And like Ciaran says, there's always going to be the naysayers who just see it as UGC videos on YouTube and a load of shite, when in fact it's not. There's a lot of quality programming that is on YouTube and can be found on YouTube, and the mainstream broadcasters embracing it as a huge opportunity for distribution is, yeah, it's, you know, we are seeing a changing world in terms of how people are enjoying their content. Yeah, it's like their audience in different places now. It's a fragmented ecosystem. People are going all over for different things, and YouTube is something that has to be embraced it's a destination for content. And no surprise that BBC would want to get involved and tailor-make content for it.
Aimee, I would add one thing there. Like, I would say that YouTube is more of an ecosystem than a supply source of online video, right? And I think this has huge implications for ad tech, right? Because like ad tech traditionally just looks at sort of like YouTube as Google own, you know, it's not something we touch. But the reality is like it's nearly a $45 billion business, right? Ad business, which is it's nearly on par with the entire size of the out-of-home market, right? But Google doesn't really care how they pocket that money, right? So within the ecosystem, there's so many problems, and I think we're going to see more and more ad tech companies in this space, and we already see a lot of native YouTube ad tech space. We're kind of coining a new phrase internally called PBTs, platform-based technologies, which is basically ad tech native to the actual environment of these ecosystems. And YouTube is an ecosystem. If you think about all the layers within YouTube, like you're thinking about, you know, curation and content, right? The ability to sort of curate good quality content, brand safety. We're talking about like the likes of Zephyr and Channel Factory and Pixability and Integral Ad Science and DV. Managed service, like there's a huge managed service business. How do you make YouTube work for you? Like MIQ have built a massive business managing campaigns on YouTube. That just sounds ridiculous, but you need lots of expertise. You need specific data. You need specific sort of methods of trading. You know, you've got native creative, like how do you build specific creative for YouTube? And then sort of the agentic sort of piece where, you know, automated buying across it. And then there's like the sell side opportunity that nobody's actually, you know, looked at, right? How do you actually increase the yield for the BBC, increase the yield for the Guardian and all the rest of them who are on YouTube? Because like Google don't give a shit about that stuff, right? I mean, I don't mean that in kind of like a flippant kind of way. They're the ecosystem, right? YouTube is the ecosystem. They have open APIs that you can build on top of. No, look, there's a black box around data and measurement, don't get me wrong, but like there is opportunity to build some cool stuff around this. And I think that's, you know, where ad tech will do more and more stuff like not just YouTube, and we're also talking about TikTok, you know, the explosion of TikTok Shop. Like all of these things need to be built natively for these platforms. And you're talking about, you know, you're talking about the decline of open web, right? Like money is going to go elsewhere. I hope it doesn't all go to the walled gardens, but ad tech needs to be more expansive about how it looks and stuff. And I certainly think that YouTube is an area that we will see more and more of these PBTs being built for. And we're going to be doing loads of this stuff at ATS, you know, because walled gardens are important outside the US, even more so the US, London, Singapore, Dubai, you know, which we're doing in November, is dominated by walled gardens. So like these PBTs, and we're talking about, you know, the likes of Channel Factory, good example, huge valuation, very focused on YouTube, and Zephyr continues to grow and all. So I see this as a really interesting play around PBT. We just need to change mindsets, right? Like stop siloing YouTube as just another supply partner, because it's not. It really isn't. It is fucking huge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you said there's more opportunities opening up there. John, do you have anything you want to add there?
No, I think that covered a lot. I would say it's probably another beneficial move from the BBC because they need to safeguard their future. Like there's questions upon question about the license fee, what the next government of the UK might look like, what they might do to the license fee. And the BBC, you know, they have BBC Studios, which makes a healthy wedge for them globally. This new global advertising revenue through YouTube is another way of safeguarding the national broadcaster's ability to make quality entertainment. And so they've seen the way the wind's blowing. And yeah, good to see them follow in ExchangeWire TV's footsteps by setting up on YouTube.
Are we on YouTube? Hello, Google users.
Find us. Yes. So no, interesting, and I think it speaks speaks volumes about how the nature of entertainment and content's going.
Yeah. Do you think this move will definitely help the BBC then to attract younger audiences, new audiences, John?
Yeah, I think it is, again, it's following where the audience is. Younger people are using YouTube. Like Ciaran says, it is an ecosystem all of its own. They will stay in there for hours and find their entertainment. And it's about, the game is about distribution, about reputation. That's what the BBC has. It's one of the world's oldest broadcasters. It's the British national broadcaster. But there's so much more competition than there ever was for younger audiences in particular. And so being able to do this is, another way of just being where your audience are, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's switch to the e-commerce sector. So Temu, the Chinese-owned platform, has caught up with Amazon in global cross-border e-commerce. Temu's market share surged from less than 1% in 2022 to 24% last year, matching Amazon's share of cross-border purchases, according to data from the International Post Corporation, which represents 26 national post services worldwide. The rise of Temu has been attributed to a broad increase in Chinese e-commerce exports, despite the global supply chain facing some tighter regulation at the moment. So how badly under threat is Amazon? Ciaran, what do you think?
I actually don't know an awful lot about Temu. I just see them advertising everywhere. Like literally, I looked at the app charts and they're like #1 across 10 European countries. So obviously they're spending a lot of money to get users. So, I mean, my understanding is that they're sort of selling a lot of crap, like, $2, $5 trinkets, and then shipping them to those people. It's sort of like they've become the like crap Chinese ecosystem, sort of like e-commerce play. Like, you get cheap stuff from China, you export it and then you resell it. But it seems I'm not sure how much of a threat this is to Amazon for the bigger prices. There's a whole brand safety brand go-to brand piece. Like everybody trusts Amazon. You buy a book, you buy Kindle, you buy whatever, and Amazon is a trusted go-to e-commerce partner. But maybe these stats are sort of showing a shift in sort of consumer behavior. I don't know. Maybe like, the gimmicky nature of this, the sort of gamification of e-commerce has become a really big sort of like feature of shopping now. Coupons, etc. I don't actually know the app that well. I just know of it. I've seen it around. So yeah, I mean that growth is impressive. But is that also off the back of like, skirting around sort of like, low cost tariffs, and now with tariffs being sort of upped across the board for Chinese produced goods, will that affect the growth of this app? Like, so, lots of questions, but I do think it's interesting. Clearly, you can buy your way into this market with a good product.
Yeah, I've never used the app myself, actually.
What's the other one called? There's another one, isn't there? There's Temu and there's another one. There's a few of these apps.
I think maybe like Shein. That's kind of more.
Shein, that's it.
Yeah, that's mostly clothes, though, I think.
Oh, is it? All right. Well, I as you can see, I only shop at one store, like, so I wouldn't know much of it.
High quality, very expensive clothing only for Ciaran O'Kane.
It's mostly sort of like quasi, fecy hoodies and stuff like that. Like, so.
We'll get you a gilet from Temu, see how it goes.
Give me a gilet from Temu, yeah.
Fine, yeah.
John, what do you make of the figures?
People like cheap shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Temu's super interesting. And Ciaran, you talked about the gamification, and that's like, I, out of interest, downloaded Temu last summer because I searched for, I think I told this anecdote before, but I searched for a new pair of running shoes, and I got an ad for Temu that offered this pair of carbon plated, incredibly light running shoes for about 20 quid. And they're normally, like 200 plus. So I was like, okay. And then I downloaded the app and I spun a little roulette wheel and it said I could have them free. I just pay for postage, and then I found another wheel, and it said I could have 2 pairs. And it's like, it's you can see the attraction. You see the I didn't take up the offer. I decided that I wouldn't risk it because I value my ankles. But it was like, it's just eye-opening into how that kind of play has translated into 24% growth.
I need to download this now. That sounds interesting.
I've definitely spun that wheel before, I think. But
yeah, I have as well. They've got one of the apps or the app.
I was like, it kind of felt like a joke. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean?
But it is,
exactly. Like, what do you mean 2 pairs?
There is a part of the market, gimmicky, low cost goods that suits really, really well.
Absolutely.
Like, if you think about it, right? And I'm only like, this is an opinion rather than, any kind of, based on any kind of evidence or facts or whatever. But is there a market for like people who are just like bored? It's a bit like, the rise in mini drama soap operas, which Aimee here is a fan of the Brazilian stuff. I find this fascinating. Like, these micro dramas that people are watching, like, and it's like it is huge, right? It's a huge thing. Is it similar to that, where it's almost like bubblegum? It's fun. It's like, you know what I mean? You might buy this for $5 or $10, and really it isn't like a massive like outlay, but it was a fun purchase to do, right? Whereas Amazon has this wide breadth of goods, and it's sort of like your yellow label store, right? It's very staid and very much in its lane. For it to go after that gimmicky market, slashing fees, etc. for buyers or for sellers, sorry. Are you chasing? Is it a race to the bottom? Like, has Temu identified that market as a really solid market for them? And I think that's interesting. Like, if they have that market, could they build their own ad business internally, like, a retail media player, right? Which Amazon's done. So, like, I did find this fascinating. I didn't actually even know about this into that story. I think you put that story into this podcast. So I find this fascinating. Is it a reflection of the change in consumer behavior? We just talked about YouTube in the last sort of story. Is this another sort of reflection of changing consumer behavior? Or maybe it's always been there, right? Maybe the gimmicky pieces. Oh, you look at just physical stores, like, the 99p store, which has all these plastic bits and pieces, but people go into it because it's cheap and cheerful, like, is that what Temu is? I don't know.
I like going into those.
That's what I'm saying. I think people see it as a guilty pleasure, like a nice thing, kind of, I don't know enough about there's lots of politics around the Shein stuff and the Uyghurs and all that kind of stuff, forced labor. I don't know what the story is around Temu. I hope that's not the case, but it feels to me they've kind of landed on a really interesting sort of portion of the market that maybe Amazon can properly address, unless they spin out a separate app, which could be almost like, low cost, sort of like
they're doing
gimmicky.
that.
Yeah, they
are they? Okay.
Yeah, Amazon, they've started like their Temu rival of low. I can't remember his name. Christ.
I think it's called Haul.
Haul, exactly. Yeah, so that's their version of Temu to try
really?
and address.
So McKinsey probably made a fortune out of that. I was just 2 months too late, obviously, that consultancy.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone just talk about that, like, in conversation. Or I've heard people talk about Temu, like, in conversation, but I've not ever heard anyone talk about, like, ordering something off Amazon Haul. But maybe they would just say Amazon instead of Amazon Haul. So.
But is it not like a really big shift in mindset for Amazon and a shift away from their core product, and would it hurt their profits to kind of go after Temu in this market, like,
Yeah.
I think Amazon's like Amazon.
I'm going to try this app, by the way, after I get off this podcast.
Gonna spin the wheel for some trainers. No, I mean, Amazon itself is filled with like bad quality stuff. Again, an anecdote I've been telling for years on the podcast, but like, I bought a cordless drill and it came and it said crodless down the side. It's like, it's not a guarantee of quality buying from Amazon. So it's interesting, but I think it's the speed of it. And then, like you said, Ciaran, it's like the mindset of buying something for, it's a throwaway, it's £2 on something that might arrive, might not, might be the right size, might not. But there's a gamification to it. And it is, offering useless products that are kind of, is 99p still fun? Like TikTok Shop keeps offering me this thing that can crush my bins. Like it's a bin lever that you attach to the lid and you pull it down and it makes more room in your bin. It's like, shit, I could
That's another interesting
that.
sort of evolution, like that social commerce piece. Like TikTok are really leaning into that. Like, I mean, that's another extension of this conversation. But I think we're talking about the sort of like low end of the market here, like, you know, and which Amazon seem to be losing market share to Temu. Well, like, it's great to see another competitor come up and do this, and clearly there is a way to kind of disrupt these huge walled gardens, these huge monopolies.
Yep, I think it's interesting to see Amazon come under any sort of threat from anywhere. So, good one.
Yeah.
Should get the Temu guys on a podcast. It'd be interesting to hear about their approach.
Just bring the roulette wheel. Just spin it. You can have 2 guests.
So now for the last section, we're going to be talking about Google. So
Not again.
again, yes, again, it always goes on. So Google's in trouble again with 5 US publishers, Penske Media Corporation, Advanced Publications, Vox Media, McClatchy, and The Atlantic, having filed cases against it over allegedly conducting deceptive and manipulative ad tech practices. So the lawsuits claim that Google used its dominance in ad servers and ad exchanges to force publishers into its ecosystem, stifle competition, and drive down online prices. Additionally, they say Google could see rivals' bids through its ad exchange before submitting its own, allowing it to keep prices deliberately low. So how significant is it to see more publishers taking action against Google? John, what do you think?
I like seeing this. I like seeing this play out because we've been, like, all of us have been pretty skeptical and pretty disappointed in what followed the ruling of Google being a monopoly from the DOJ. Like, there hasn't been a particularly suitable punishment meted out. It was very lenient. There was, the excuse that AI had changed the game, so they didn't need to do as much as they thought they would to Google was a bit sad, and it felt a fairly light punishment for Google. But what we all did say is that it opened the floodgates for civil cases. Like, them being branded a monopoly in a legal court was always going to allow people to make their own case. And we've seen ad tech companies coming together to do it, and more publishers now coming together to take on Google for claiming it's deceptive and manipulative ad tech practices and limiting revenue. So I like to see it. Google will always defend themselves to the hill. This will go for years and years. Appeals. We're not closer to knowing what the outcomes could be. But I think as testimony that perhaps the DOJ, just the ruling itself of monopolistic practices was enough to open the door for publishers to get what they feel they're owed from over the years. It's a good thing to see.
Yeah, it's a good thing to see. Ciaran, what do you think?
Sue, baby, Sue. You as John said, you've got a ruling in America that Google operated an illegal monopoly, 2 charges out of 3. Very hard to argue against that. Like, I don't know where they even would start. I mean, they're probably better off settling a lot of this. I mean, they've made, I don't know how much they've made, countless hundreds of billions off the double-click platform over the last 15 years. So, like, they can afford these fines. So I would be surprised if they try to go back to court and overturn that monopoly charge in ad tech as well. I know that they're going to go on to the search one in a minute, but I think they'll find it difficult to overturn that particular charge, given how, they still have a sort of iron grip over the marketplace. I kind of like just tuned out of this story because it did, you were getting the promise of divestitures and all sorts of things, and you get the sense that Google's kind of got away with it again, and maybe they're playing a game of 3D chess that none of us else can play. But like, the EU still has to have its say on this ad tech monopoly. So who knows what could happen in the next 6 months in terms of remedies in Europe. Like, they still could spin off AdX and GAM as a separate company here, or I don't know how they're going to operate that. Like, I think like there's going to be an appetite to get pretty aggressive in Europe around some of this stuff now. I think they were very hands off with Trump coming in, and I think, you know, attitudes are starting to harden now in Europe that you can't appease this guy, so you might as well go all in. Look, if I were a publisher and I feel I've been, you know, if I can show a realistic calculation of what I could have earned over a 10-year period, or the period that they were operating this monopoly in, then you can make a justification for compensation around that number. I don't know how Google's going to manage this, because these cases could keep coming. Like, you obviously need to have resources, and it's expensive, and Google has has a lot of money on the balance sheet to kind of defend itself against anything, really. So yeah, I mean, it's the only recourse. I don't see a world where Google gets broken up now. I don't see it happening. Because if you think about GARM's sort of stranglehold is over the open web, and the open web is in decline, so they can make the argument that, like, you know, we're not really a monopoly. How can we be a monopoly in a channel that's declining? Do they have the same grip in app and CTV and out of home? No, they don't. And that's probably why AdX has been so friendly to everybody at the minute. Like, if you go around town, they've been very open about how they work with people. It's almost like a sea change in attitude over there, like, you know. So yeah, the only sort of recourse for publishers is to sue at this stage to get some kind of compensation. It doesn't help them in the long term, because Google's basically just gutted the open web by going all in on, Q&A search engines, which it's their right to. Like, I've no, like, this anger towards Google is hilarious. Like, they don't owe you a revenue, or owe you a sort of money, but, you know, they've already been proven that what they did in court is that they restricted you making more money, which is where you can get your cash, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so elsewhere, Google has appealed to US District Judge's landmark antitrust ruling that found that Google illegally held a monopoly in online search, following its line of argument that the ruling failed to consider the current competition the company faces due to innovation and other players that are kind of moving into the landscape. So Google's Vice President for Regulatory Affairs, Leanne Mulholland, said that people use Google because they want to, not because they're forced to. Does Google have any chance in overturning this ruling? What do you think, Ciaran?
I don't know. I wouldn't bet against Google. If they feel they can get an overturn, you could make an argument, right? Like, you know, the rise of ChatGPT, the rise of Claude. I think what they want really is to be able to do these sort of sweetheart deals with Apple and all the rest of it, where they pay a ton of money to own the relationship. I mean, they still hold a massive monopoly in traditional search. People are still using it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not using the search engines anymore. I use Maps, but everything else is either Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. That's where I'm going mostly. I don't know if that's the case for you guys.
No, I still use Google quite a bit, because a lot of the time I want to go directly to publisher websites to see what they're writing. So that's just easy.
I know. I'm talking about my habits around going to certain websites. Like, that hasn't changed. I have, you know, news apps, and I have like an RSS reader that I use still, which is very old school. But I'm not using ChatGPT for news gathering. I'm just saying for, like, utility search things now, and do more and more of that, like product development, or bouncing ideas, or collating thoughts and stuff like that into, like, workflow stuff. So I don't know, like, I think they've got a case. If they can prove that the world has changed and will change, that they're no longer, if you think about search, I don't know how they'll frame it. They'll say that search has irrevocably changed forever, because it's now about, you put in a question and you get an answer, rather than the, keyword, multiple answer sort of traditional search, they may have a case. I don't know. Look, I've given up trying to fight Google. Like, it's like, you know, you don't, like, I keep referring to it, it's like a bit like Saw. You think you're out of the trap, and then you've got another trap. And have you ever seen that film? Basically, you chop off your arm, and before you know it, you've got, someone's got a hook in your shoulder, and you can't. It's like you know, it's a bit like that.
John,
It's a bit. I've been fighting Google since 2010, and I've just given up.
Don't give up.
you need a
Good
break.
luck to them.
We're keeping going.
John, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are that in 5 years' time, when Google have had this monopoly case overturned successfully, there'll be a massive thick wedge of an irony because they've used the time to build the next monopoly with AI, usually turning Gemini into the AI Death Star that overtakes everything else. And Google just starts again. And we're in 20 years' time, we're talking about how we let Google dominate the AI LLM market. And how it fucked us all over, and people are starting to take them to court for doing that. So yeah, I think it's just watching history repeat itself.
Gemini is pretty good. Hey, I've been using Gemini.
What's happened?
No,
You've changed, man.
I've been using chat. I'm like, the difference is not massive, but Google's UI looks and feels a lot cleaner.
And that's
And
it.
I do
And that's
think
what I'm
the
talking about. It's good.
ChatGPT have started throttling the answers as well. If you're a free user, I also think the ads thing could be huge. Like, as in, it could be a massive turn off for people.
Yeah.
If you don't do it right. I have my doubts about ChatGPT. I think they're in trouble. I just think what will happen probably is that they're going to run out of money, and Microsoft would just basically suck them up into their stuff. Like, so.
I mean, they've said that they're charging advertisers $1 million to be involved in the ad trial period with ChatGPT. It's like $1 million for a commitment at the very least. 1 million table stakes to be on ChatGPT and advertising. They are finding that they need to make money quickly, which doesn't.
But they could ruin the user journey. Like, if you come too early with ads, it could really be like you're really, you know, you could be sort of like a short-term revenue at the expense of long-term usage. So if it's done in the wrong way.
Agreed. But yeah, back to Google. That's my thought, is that they'll have, you know, you wouldn't bear against them here, like Ciaran said, being able to turn it around. They're blaming innovation and the pace of change, which you can't argue against. Things have changed an awful lot in the last 12 months, but I just think, that this will all just roll on again, and the next one will be LLMs and AI.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that progresses. But I think that's a good note to end on. Thanks both for joining me. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much. Loved it.
And thanks, Ciaran.
Thanks, Aimee. I'll report back next time with my experience at Temu.
Yeah, let us know how it goes spinning the wheel.
You'll have to wear the gilet. Whatever gilet you get from Temu, you have to wear next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably be holes in it.
Okay, and thanks to all our listeners. Tune in next week for more AdTech news.
You've been listening to the MadTech podcast, brought to you by ExchangeWire.